We need it.
Yeah. Okay, welcome back after our brief adjournment. In light of and mind keeping processes in place, I'm actually going to move on to some of the business cases, which I know Councillor Cretney has been asking for. And the first one on the table, if we talk about the depot ablution work. Everybody has received the business case and has had time to peruse it. Johannes, we may ask you to come to the table at some stage, but I will now open it up for questions on this item. Any questions that any of the members have for our CE or staff around the depot works? Councillor Cretney, do you have any?
No, that's the first time I've seen the business case, and I'm very appreciative of it. That is a new business case.
Yes.
We have brought the business case to a workshop before. I think what has happened is, once the feedback, the cost estimate has been considered by council as too high, so we've done everything we can to try and reduce that. The proposal now is that we have a single budget line of $150,000 in 1 year, and we drop the second year out of it, and we essentially install a portal.
I agree. Thank you, Deb. But a porticom was not an option in the beginning. The option was to spend $300,000 on the depot doing up showers and toilets. That's what was written in the initial.
Yeah, that is correct. And we've responded and said,
thank you, and I appreciate that.
And that's a really good highlight, that management listening to concerns of our elected members and coming up with solutions, particularly in keeping these costs down. Welcome back to the table, Councillor Aileen. We are discussing the depot business case. I had asked for questions and there weren't any around the table. So it was just open to discussions, and Councillor Cretney's just expressed his appreciation for management to come back with this revised and reduced cost. Is there any more discussion? Yes, Councillor Dalla.
Oh, thank you, Robin. Yeah, no, I'm pleased with the business case that's come forward, and the budget that we are now set at 150K. I think we need to basically accept that and move on. Thank you.
Is there any more discussion around this depot business case? If there is no discussion, then I would like to suggest that someone move we accept this business case. Thank you, Councillor Cretney. Would somebody like to second that? Thank you, Councillor Dalla. You get that? Yeah. All those in favour, please show your hands, raise your hands. Everyone's for that. Just to note that Mayor Ron is out of the room with a coughing fit. So that was carried unanimously. That decision can therefore be voted and go up to council. Our next business case is, sorry, I'm just trying to open it on my computer, which seems to have been having a little. No, I think we'll do the library. Sorry, I'm just. The business case for the library. So this is the RFID business case. Again, I would like to open the questions in this report. No questions on this? Any discussion around this proposed business case and the funding? bearing in mind that there are two options. So an option A, sorry, and option B. So if there's no questions, we're open to discuss. A question or a discussion?
Question.
Thank you. We do have questions.
Thank you. Sorry. I was just trying to open the document. In the business plan, it talks about, I'm assuming it's the right one. 10-year business plan library. Yeah, I do. Talks about having self-issue machines. I just wonder if Jeff could talk about how that will impact our staffing numbers.
Perhaps I could ask Glenda to assist. Mostly it shouldn't impact significantly, or I don't expect it to impact significantly, because most of the people who will be using self machines will either be using them outside of hours, so they'll be returning books outside of library hours anyway, or they'll be issuing books themselves, and they would have otherwise just patiently waited for staff. So perhaps Glenda, is there anything further that would we consider that there would be a change in hours?
It'll help the library and the staff function more purposefully in what they're doing. So there will be still the customers that are in need just for picking up books, but the more technically advanced would be able to in and out and sorry though, and free up a little bit more time to do their other workload as well.
We haven't budgeted for any change in library staff hours.
No, I had a significant part of the librarian's jobs would be helping people with issuing books. So I was just imagining that there might be a change in staff numbers, seeing as there's going to be a machine doing some of their job.
Budgeted for it.
Okay.
If it does occur, I see it's occur at next year.
And this is a year 2 LTP, the self-issue machine item as well.
Yep.
Are there any other questions around the table? Are there any discussions from any elected members or members of the hearing committee? If there are none, as I said before, we do have two options to consider. So we have option A, which is the preferred option. Do I have anybody prepared to move preferred A, the preferred option? Thank you, Dale. Somebody to second that? Thank you, Councillor Newman. All those in favour by hands, please. Those against? The motion has carried. Thank you. We move through. Get that, Robin? All good? Thank you. Sorry. The library workroom. Again, we have the business case to us.
May I just speak to?
Absolutely, please do.
As we've discussed previously, where we have a planned budget and we get a cost estimate that is greater than the budget, we won't start work. So this is one of those cases that has had a planned budget in this current year's plan. So $90,000 is sitting in our budget. At this stage, we've not been able to find any work, any construction company to undertake the work for that budget. And all of the estimates that we've had 2 or 3 of them come back in all around $150,000. So the request is either we extend the budget or we drop the project. But at this case, given that Carterton is the centre for Wairarapa library services books coming into Wairarapa, the workroom is something that like to progress.
Yeah. Opening for questions, Councillor Newman and then Councillor Cretney.
Question around that, if we are the centre for where the books come in and out, do we get any sort of funding for doing that service?
No, I don't think so. It's just part of our participation in the Warrior Shared Library Services.
Okay, which could potentially cost us money though.
It's a good point.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I just had a question, just around whether the workroom build will, and some of the general projects that are already approved through the last motion, will they help cut down on the need for a workroom? So we're talking self-issue machines, smart shelves, the RFD tags, and so forth. Will that assist the library system without needing a workroom?
So when the National Library books come in, they have to be checked into our catalogue. And so the staff take all of the books that come in and we load them into the system so that they can be checked out for library users. And we need a place to collate all the books that come in, check them in. When we send them back to National Library, we've got to check them all out of our catalogue again. So that workroom, that occurs in the workroom. So RFID won't happen. It'll only help with issuing the book. It won't actually help adding the book into our collection and taking it out as these new books come in and go.
Did that answer your question, Councillor Cretney?
Yes, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Councillor
I
Della?
just got a comment on.
We just check to make sure there's no more questions first.
Yeah.
A question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, coming back to Councillor Newman's observation, we're providing a centralised service. Has management had a conversation around governance costs with other council, with South Wye and their apportionment, their share of this,
No, we haven't, but we could well do.
in line with a set of principles
Following this
that
question.
are well defined around how corporate costs should be allocated and CapEx funding? Because that would change my view on this.
And in addition to that question as well, it's not just South Wairarapa, but because we're part of the smart library system. So it's the Wellington City Libraries and the Upper Hutt City Library, Upper Hutt Libraries as well, that books come through.
Yeah.
Like they go, I don't know if you've ever borrowed a book from through the smart library system, but you can go to, you get the option from much, I kind of go the lower North Island almost, that are connected with the smart system. So
I can ask a silly question. Why would we have not had that conversation, Cornell?
I don't know how much that cost would be. It may not have been as significant, but I am happy to take that as an action point.
any other questions? Okay, open for discussion.
Well,
Yeah,
just
oh,
in question then a little bit. I might need clarification here, but when a book is loaned out and if it's in a different library, that library must accrue time to get that book onto a courier to come to this library to be issued. So it swings and roundabouts. A lot of it, I would think. I don't know. If I'm on the wrong track, can somebody tell me?
Glenda says you're on the right track.
I'm on. Oh, so yeah, so that's what I see. But yeah, I take the point that if we are the central hub, we may be doing more than our share, and that's probably what we need to investigate. But another point that in support of the library workroom, when I'm in here on a Friday doing my JP work for a couple of hours, and Dale will probably reiterate with me, we sit over in the corner up against a false wall with a workroom on one side and us on the other. Now, the nature of the beast is they're working, sorting books, couriers are coming in and out, and there is a lot of noise and disturbance that can go on. We're not the only ones sitting here. There are people using computers. So to me, a library is a quiet zone, but there is disturbance. So with a proper workroom and a proper in and out system, it must improve the system. That would be my observation.
Yeah, that might affect that. There's an empty office sitting, and it used to be the mayor's office, and you two might like to use that for your JP work, which would really be. It's not being used right now.
So coming back to this case study, there's always options, things, absolutely. Any other discussion around this case study and proposal that we have in front of us, or the options that we have in front of us?
Just discussion, just seeing in what comes to us in the ordinary council meetings about the number of books borrowed from our libraries, the number of new members joining. I can see the benefit in the library. I love the library. I'm a big fan of it, and I can see the need for the workroom, but I would like some more information brought to us about the potential of whether this needs to be all on us to bear the cost of it.
Take that as an action.
Thank you. Councillor Gallen.
I just wonder whether it's going to be just pushed back a bit, not sort of, I suppose, long-term plan stuff, but you know, like builders put a price out there now, yeah, but I think some of these builders might be dropping their rates a wee bit. Mr. Griffin.
No idea.
You know, I think things are changing. Yeah, the price of maybe 150,000 might be a bit steep, I think.
So what we're looking at actually is an increase in CapEx of 60,000 for this LTP. And as we know, if the actual true cost comes in less than that, it is a CapEx project as well. So that then means, so Councillor Williams.
Yeah, that's right. There might be a potential benefit if the costs were less in the borrowing and debt servicing. I guess for me, it's the principle of, is this project a worthy one for this LTP? I think if there's a potential cost share with other councils, I can imagine the amount would be here nor there in terms of, so for me, it doesn't matter if there's a potential cost share or not. The principle for me is that, is this project a worthy one? And for me, it definitely is.
Thank you.
Yes,
absolutely.
One thing, and I accept that Jeff said he's not budgeting for any changes in staff levels, and therefore there's nothing planned that suggests that anything will be cheaper. It does seem to me from that these two library items between them might mean that the library is able to operate with less casual staff, that, you know, it'll just be more efficient overall. So when someone is able to come to work, they might manage rather than calling someone in. You can't budget for that, but it feels like it should save us a few bucks.
So there's potential savings, but not budget or not forecasted. Thank you. Councillor Cretney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jeff, I'm not sure if you remember back, or whether it was slightly before your time when council chose to remove the charges.
That was my time.
Can you remember offhand how much that was? It was the late return charges. It was under $10,000.
It was a very insignificant amount, and it was a great deal of time chasing it up. Was it under 10?
Yeah.
Was it under? Yeah. It was very insignificant.
Thank you.
Do we have any further discussion on this business case study? So we do have one option in front of us at the moment, and that is $60,000 is added to the existing budget to undertake the workroom in year one of LTP. Would anybody like to move that option around the table? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Williams. Would somebody like to second that? Thank you, Councillor Lawrence. Is there any further discussion around the motion? I will put the motion to the vote. Those in favour by show of hands, please. 2, 3, 4. Those against? Any abstention? Sorry.
Abstain.
Okay, so we have four against, an abstention. As I have previously stated, as chair, I will not use a casting vote, so therefore the status quo remains.
Which is,
No increase to budget.
No,
No increase to budget.
Madam Chair, could we, is Jeff going to take an action from that to provide us with more information going forward so we can relook at that in the future?
Yeah, we've already noted that there is
Thank
an
you.
action. Thank you, Councillor Cretney. Yeah. Okay, our next item. Oh, that's wrong. Our next case study is, we've done the two library. That's sorry, yeah. Too many CSIs. The next business case is the event centre. And as has already been stated previously, Councillor Ayling will be excluded from discussions, questions and decisions due to her personal submission to the LTP. So I will open up the business case for questions.
I could take them one at a time. Perhaps you wanted to start with.
Okay, yeah. Okie dokie. So if everybody's happy, thank you. And for ease to follow through, the first item that we will have questions on will be the auditorium projects and priorities. So the first one being.
Sorry,
Sorry, no.
Carry on.
See. Right, back to rewind questions around the business case. I think Councillor Cretney had.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a couple of questions around this. Would there be any additional, or what would be the additional revenue from updating the sound system?
Madam Chair, may I invite
Yes, absolutely.
Linda to the table?
I was just about to chat her. Yeah. That was my question as well, Councillor Cretney. Thank you.
So currently people have to hire the equipment externally. So we could look at including that into our hireage fees. So external fees for those are usually anywhere between 800 to
3,000.
3,000. So based on what we've got, we would be able to add that additionally to our hireage fees. That we can also hire the sound system out for external events as well. So there would be additional revenue coming from that as well.
If you've got a question, we'll stay with you, Steve. Get your
Just the figures that you've mentioned, that's quite a spread. Did you say 800 to 3,000?
Yeah. But it depends on the level of what they require within that sound system and the equipment. Like if they just require 2 speakers and some microphones versus the whole kit and caboodle of putting the bands on.
Okay, so that's either hiring our PA or they bring their own.
Or they hire in somebody, so they would hire in the likes of Toby to come in with his equipment and his skill, whereas we've got staff on hand as well, which would support the work, yeah.
Okay. The LED, is that included in theatrical lighting improvements? is that included in what we're talking about now? So we're talking about everything on that business case?
Yes.
Yeah.
How many shows actually bring in their own high-level LED systems?
Good question. I don't know the answer to that one. I know that there is some that do bring it in, but they also use ours as well as their own. But I would have to come back to you with that specific.
Okay. And the other one's around the carpet replacement.
So that's for the whole centre.
Yeah. I gather the information to wanting to replace the carpet, does that come from someone coming in and inspecting it and giving an idea of how many years there might be left in the carpet as it stands at the moment, or?
That's comes up within the building maintenance. There is areas of the centre where the carpet is worn and does need to start looking at replacement, and that's where we've suggested that it costs $101 to recarpet the entire space. Or we can break it down and just focus on the areas that need it over the 10-year plan, over the 10-year plan. So we could focus on just the library in 1 year, just the meeting room in another year, and do it as it comes up.
Okay. Thank you.
That's right.
That's no more questions, Councillor Crackney?
The other things are pretty self-explanatory, really. It's, yeah.
Thank you. Question? Ron?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Look, on coming to the band gear, if we could lump it all together, theatrical lighting improvements, which is all designed to enhance shows performance and sound. Have you had a report on, one thing we know is that technology moves really fast. What you buy today, next year in this space is out of date. And bands are pretty picky about what they want. We had a technician's overview as to the advantages of owning, buying, purchasing, storing, maintaining, and if you're going to be hiring it out, transporting safely sound gear. And I certainly don't let my gear be transported. It's quite expensive. But have you had any technical report that gives you advice as to whether it's even smart to buy gear and own it?
I answer one part of your question
Yeah.
and then jump to that. With the lighting, the issue that we have with the lighting is that the manufacturers aren't producing the bulbs for the lights anymore. So we've had the lighting installed when the centre was built, but the manufacturers they aren't producing the lighting. So as our bulbs die, we don't have anything to replace them. So we will eventually end up not being able to put any lighting on. So that's the reason that we've got the lighting improvements in there. It's upgrading that system so we can actually add to LED, so we can have that lighting available.
Sound system.
Sound system.
Short answer, no. We've used our own internal team to determine what we need in terms of a sound system. So the short answer is no, we don't have an external report.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions on this business case?
Just going back to the lighting, it's like every now and then I have a similar situation where the light goes out and they said, no, can't get that bulb anymore. So you replace it with something different. I don't go through and replace everything top to bottom. I just replace what needs to be done. Can that be done in this case?
I think there is the opportunity to do some of that. In particular, there is a difference in light colour from tungsten halogen to LED. So they are the light tones are different. So if you were replacing spotlights, you'd want to replace all of the spotlights at once. and perhaps you could leave some of your backlighting to later, as you suggest. You'd have to do them in blocks, but there is potentially the opportunity to spread the change in lighting over time. We'd target probably the ones where the manufacturers have already told us they're going to stop producing the bulbs as our priority ones. So, but yes, we could spread this over time. I think it's split over years 1, 2 and 3 of the LTP.
Thank you. Councillor Lawrence, I think you had a question and we'll come back.
I know from personal experience, when we put LEDs through the house, our power bill went down a fair bit. Is that worth taking into consideration here?
We
Yes.
expect the power bill to drop as we progress through LED. Yes.
I think that's actually
Simon said.
in the report as well. Another question.
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you. Carpet replacement entire centre, your explanation says you would not do that.
Yeah, so we've said that we could break it off, so, and do it as it comes up, so as and when needed. So we did put it in for year 3.
Said all year 3, one.
Yeah, but looking at it, we could actually just, because we were thinking, do we just close for a few days, empty the whole place, recarpet, or do we just do it section by section as it comes up when needed?
That could
And
potentially be year 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
So on and so forth. Yeah.
and in the next LTP review in 3 years' time, that could be a year 1 item.
Yes.
Are there any other questions? Okay, I will open up to the table for discussions. No discussions? Oh,
Well, I need to say that, you know, that I know there's a cost to the event centre. I get all that, but it really is the jewel in the crown of Carterton. It's probably, other than Parks and Reserves, it's probably where we get the most feedback, the most visitor responses, and it really is our shop window. I don't understand putting on performances and shows very much at all, but I can imagine that certainly since Erin's come along, the calibre and the frequency of events in the centre are world class, from what people tell me. And you know, there's a cost or an investment against continuing to outperform in a relatively competitive market. So, you know, within reason, I do support us not allowing, I mean, if the event centre was stalled and went backwards in terms of its attractiveness to the performers, we would find ourselves with a white elephant or in a hole pretty quickly, I would imagine, if we started getting no rather than yes from these performances who tack us into a regional event. I mean, I'm only speculating, but for me, given what it costs to put in up and given its continued attractiveness after, 14 years, 13 years, for me, it's logical to keep investing, if we can, in maintaining what is a phenomenal attraction, in my opinion.
Councillor Cretney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to see council or the Event Centre Management Council take more of a proactive approach in how they go about this, and whether we can put a ticket on the ticket, we can increase that ticket price, because these shows do come with us often, and how much it is for the event centre hireage and so forth. So if we could work out within that hireage a percentage of the ticket price that gets added to whatever these promoters are going to sell their tickets for, and that accumulates over time to be able to complete some of these projects and priorities, I see that as a user pays, which as much as there's a benefit to the whole community for having a nice spick and span event centre with all the bells and whistles, I feel quite a bit of this should be an impact on the user pays. And that when they come here to enjoy those shows, they get a better experience, whether it's walking over nice carpet or new LED lighting or a superior sound system. So that's my thoughts moving forward.
Councillor Newman.
Thank you. I find this one really tricky. I know the event centre isn't going to make the council a profit, and I accept that. I still struggle that we don't know kind of what budget it works within. Because if there was a budget, then we could be clear on where this sits and what that's going to have the effect of that on the budget. You know, we're proposing to possibly spend another 250,000 in year one, roughly. You know, but are we already running at a loss of 300? And is that council's, that's where we sit comfortably, that's where it runs at a loss of? I'm not sure we know enough about it. I don't feel like I know enough about it to make a call on it, because I just would love some more information on what it looks like and the cost to us. And I'd also like some more information on things like the sound system renewal and the business case for that of renting it out. Has there been some figures done on that? So in the first year, what we could expect to recoup on that coming back to us. So yeah, it's a tricky one. Love the event centre, love all of it does, but I would just love to have a bit more information around it.
I'm in Councillor Newman's camp, and this is a bit hard for me because being the last person at the table who was involved in building it. I guess if I was to ask someone in the commercial sector, how would you look at this asset? They might have a totally different view to what council sees it as. And I'm one of those people who accepted right at the start that the event centre, particularly the auditorium, but the rest of it was, you know, libraries, they don't make money, are going to run at a loss. I guess I take Councillor Newman's point. The question is, how much of a loss? And where are our financial caveats and policy settings around that? If we're going to keep investing, where is the business return on that? And what do we know what that picture looks like in terms of how much money, how we can justifiably put more money in and what we expect to get out of that as a consequence? And I'm not one who believes that. I don't necessarily go with Councillor Cretney that you should include on the ticket price, because if the show's a bummer and it only sells 2 tickets, the ratepayers suck in it all up. If the show's a boomer, then they would confidently take a highridge fee that reflects a certain dollar, be it the symphony or be it Oxnard or whoever. So I'm just not confident that our business model is right. And I'm just not confident that we know what we're doing, frankly. And I'm not fearful of other venues stealing our space right now. May change depending on how Masterton fits out their new one. But if I've been into events in Waikol, I've been to events in Rathkeel, I've been to other events in Masterton and other venues. We were light years ahead then. We're still way ahead. So I don't think we're overly threatened by the market, but where I do lack clarity is what's our business model for it going forward, and the wisdom of just pouring more money in and pouring more money because bands want it and because other people say we should. And we're going to get the money back maybe if we sold enough tickets, but actually, should we be doing that? Should we just be focusing on highridge fee? And they suck up all the costs, and if they want to bring in kit to enhance of what we supply, so be it. I mean, this seems like a wish list to me, and I'm not sure that I'm wishing for the same thing because I don't know what I'm wishing for. Yeah.
I just have a comment to make. For me, and sort of looking, there are some things in this report that are highlighted that definitely need addressing and budgeting for. And the fact that light bulbs can't be purchased any further. If we don't have an ability to actually turn the lights on, then that negates any options of hiring out the venue. And so that's kind of, for me, that lighting, upgrading, so we can still buy light bulbs, is very important. The other thing that I'm also conscious of is health and safety impacts on our staff. So, for example, just sort of flagging like the fly system renewal, we have replaced some of them. For me, the risk of accidents and injuries is not one that we as a council or any organisation really wants to be ignoring. So that's definitely flagged for me. And I guess too, like with the carpet renewal, I sort of, again, same sort of thing. We don't want trip hazards. We know we have a lot of elderly in our community. And I know that this is at the moment budgeted for year 3. From what I'm hearing, that may be able to be pushed out a little bit. But again, the last thing we want is any elderly members of our community tripping over worn, dodgy carpet tiles and breaking hips and so forth. So I understand the levels of concern that I've heard around the discussions. I'm conscious that not everyone who is able to speak on this has, and so I'd just like to see if there is any other discussion. Councillor Lawrence.
The other items here in terms of business cases don't have any potential revenue attached to them. This one potentially does, but we don't have it. So it's kind of only half a business case, I think. And I'm thinking about what we're actually talking about, which is the long-term plan. So we've got a whole bunch of capital expenditure, which creates loan repayments and bits and bobs and depreciation, all that sort of stuff. We've got nothing to balance that against. I would have thought both of those two things would impact on what we're really worried about, which is the rates rate, in a small way, but it would be something. So, I mean, if this comes to the vote, I don't know what to do really, because clearly some of these items need to be done. Maybe some of them don't. I don't think we've really got enough information here.
Brittany?
Madam Chair, just a question. Is the new furniture and equipment and so forth, is that included in this? Because I'm just thinking about other things that are on that community support list of capital projects. And is the new furniture and so forth?
It's not included in this business case. That's just renewals that of things break, we need to replace.
Yeah,
Basically,
so that's part of the renewals program as opposed to actual CapEx, like big CapEx items.
I thought there was quite a large spend for the foyer.
You guys decided to not do that one.
Probably did. We've already decided that.
Yeah, we voted
Thank you.
against that at a council meeting.
Thank you.
Anybody else would like that? Councillor Dodge,
Whilst I've been listening intently to everybody, I see there's a lot of expense over the first 3 years. All these items that we've got here. So just wondering whether we shouldn't be have a spread it out over a longer period and become less of an impact in the 1, 2 and year 3. I know spreading it out over creates an increase in risk. But or the other alternative is to take out, say the fly system renewals, put that up to year 4, 5 or whatever. I don't know. I'd have to be advised on what are you must have some priorities in that list of what is desperately needed and what could be stretched out.
So the priorities for me would be the lighting, first and foremost. And there is, so you could stage, so we've got the flight system over 1 and 2, we could stage that over 2 and 3. I don't know if that helps. The Psychorama, we've got in year 2. So again, that could be deferred. That I think was noted below that it is starting to deteriorate. But we could push that one. It gets more use as a projection screen than it does as what it's intended for. So, and I think continue to be the case the longer we defer it.
Are there other options for projection screens that we have existing within what we have now?
Yeah. Sorry, use my words.
Dumb question. Lighting. Is the, I take it we're just talking about bulb.
No.
Thank you. Because in the explanation, it says whilst the, now it's gone blurry on me. Can't read it.
Fittings have got, 10 to 15 years worth of life.
Yeah.
That is the piece you're talking about.
Yeah, so the fittings have got 10 to 15 years of life, so I'm a bit confused as to whether, I was going to say, are bulbs not just an R&M thing, but clearly there's something, it's more about replacing the fittings, the housing, the...
You are correct, bulbs are R&M. The lifetime of the quality of the light and the intensity of the light that is used in a spotlight is much different to what we would get at home, and the feedback we're getting. So we've just had an order come through of bulbs from one manufacturer who said that's it, they're not stocking them any further. They're $60 a bulb, and we can't get any more.
So you have
So fitting will have to go as well as
okay,
the bulb.
right.
The fitting and the voltage probably could be different. Going
So
A little bit like using an old bayonet light.
Yeah.
You can't screw that into an LED, or you can't put an LED light into an old bayonet fitting.
Yeah,
In my brain is how I've kind of.
I do get that. It's just that it's a bit similar to the bulbs. You can't get new bulbs. We're talking about the whole fittings. That's why it's a CapEx item. That's why it's in there.
It wouldn't need to be a CapEx item if we could continue still getting the bulbs effectively. Oh, Councillor Lawrence.
One item we haven't talked about in here is the floor in the auditorium. I really think we've got to do that.
Yes, me too.
So whatever else we decide not to do, I think we have to do that.
And that is in year 2. Mm.
If you were to write priorities against those, what would it look like?
For me, it's the lighting is number 1. My team would say the lighting and the sound system are equally number 1. Then I would move, so auditorium floor, fly system, and then the replacement of the Sakurama. I hope I'm saying that right. And the carpet, I feel we could push that out over a number of years rather than focus it all in year 3. And do it as needed basis.
And hopefully by then the government will be introducing a subsidy to make us use wool.
So
Said they would.
for around this discussion, so just to clarify, lighting, because of what has been explained to us, is a high priority. And also the sound system renewal also has as high priority. And then those may also, by improving those, may increase revenue from our current bookings. And I know years ago, I used to hire, and in my previous life, used to hire the event centre, and that was when there was very little here, and it did cost for a small organisation a lot of money to bring in the lighting. So if I would have been happy to have paid that to the event centre as opposed to all the hassles that go with bringing that in. And the floor auditorium, which is actually in year 2, that is kind of third on the list. And then the fly system, at the moment, we've got split across year 1 and 2. Could that potentially sort of be years 2 and 3, or 3 and 4 possibly? Yeah. And then the cyclorama and the carpet replacement could also potentially be outside of the first 3 years. Is that a correct assumption of?
Yeah.
How does
So if we moved that and it passed, then you would redo the figures based on that, and that would form part of the final deliberation amounts. Yeah.
And then with those final deliberations, we would have the exact figure in years and stuff,
The
which,
costs against the years.
Yeah.
We're still going to, sorry, through you, Madam Chair. Regardless of what we do with the sound system, and I know that if you're a technician, you want the best stuff in your building. I know that, yeah, deal with that a lot. But we're still going to have high performing artists, and I'm thinking Twisted, I'm thinking Pink Floyd band, who bring in Toby, because that's the level of service, the level of quality, the quality they want. So whatever we've invested is sitting on the shelf because other people bring in their own gear. I don't know. I don't see any numbers around projections and on the sound as to how much revenue it's going to bring in, whether it'll pay for itself. So I get a bit of an issue over that one right now. I'd want to see more information around that.
there is a comment in the case that the sound system the sound is frequently mentioned by producers and the audience as being of a poor quality. When the event centre first opened, and in the first however many years, it was noted how amazing the sound and stuff was in there. And it does say here that, so this quote is, I'm guessing, obviously from feedback, that there's a consistent buzz / hum and a muffled quality. And infrequently the sound actually drops out altogether. Having that as feedback, potentially, if there is no investment in sound, then I'm guessing, so I'm presuming, that might mean that this will be exacerbated, this feedback. And yeah, whereas if there was an investment and at 145,000, I think it said, it's probably not the biggest, flashiest, all bells and whistles at the moment. So that's literally renewing sort of what we have, so we don't have these issues to a slightly higher standard. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
It's in the interests of continuing to progress. Can I move that? Well, I move that I support the event centre program with the priority schedule that has just been discussed: the lighting, the sound, auditorium year 2, fly system year 2 and 3, and so on. So support the program,
Yeah.
but staged against priority. There's a better way to put that, I'm sure, Jeff.
I wonder, so the business case has the items. I wonder if you just wish to vote on
each item.
On the start at the carpet replacement, we could suggest, we move that to year 4, and then we just work through each item, and then rather than having to agree to an entire program, you're able to.
That's a good suggestion.
So my suggestion, I think we suggested we move the carpet replacement out a little bit to potentially year 4,
Or progressively.
progressively.
Yeah.
Progressively year 3 and 4 onwards.
So is this, Robin, are you getting this? So if somebody would like to move that the carpet replacement for the entire centre is moved to begin in year 4 and then progressive
Beginning.
years thereafter.
Beginning year 3.
Beginning year 3 and then progressively thereafter. So we've had Councillor Della has moved that.
Yeah.
Councillor Williams has seconded that. All those in favour of this motion, show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any more voting for this motion?
Yeah.
6 has worshipped the mayor. Any against? We have 2 against. So that motion is carried. Thank you. Moving through down to the auditorium floor sand and varnish is currently in year 2 of our LTP. Do I have somebody move?
Sorry, the last motion was on the carpet, wasn't it?
That was carpet.
Carpet
Yep.
only. Yeah.
So the second motion is on the auditorium floor sand and varnish for it to remain in year 2 of the LTP. Do I have- Thank you, Councillor Lawrence. Anyone to second that? Thank you, Councillor Williams. All those in favour by show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4. Those against. 3 against. That motion is also carried. The cyclorama replacement. The motion, I would have to move that the motion is, we move that to year 4 of the LTP. Although, do I have someone second? Thank you, Councillor Williams. All those in favour, show of hands, please. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those against? 3 against. Councillor Gallen?
Staying on that one.
Okay, so Councillor Gallen has abstained, so that was 4 for the motion and 3 against and 1 extension, so that has carried for that to be moved to year 4. Moving down, the sound system renewal is currently programmed for year 1. With all the discussion we've had, do I have someone move that remain as is in the business case?
We talked
Or
1, 2, did we not? Or it was year 1?
Sound system.
I'm on here at
Okay,
year 1, but if you would like to propose it split over,
We could move it if.
could that be split over 2 years?
That's what, yeah,
Yeah,
move that'll be split over 2 years.
okay.
Got years.
1 and 2.
So the sound system renewal to be split across years 1 and 2 of the LPP.
Can I
Thank you.
just, how do you do that?
Yeah,
I
thank you, Steve, but that was my question.
I will go back and talk to my team and look at the quotes
Yeah.
and look at what we can obtain this year or year 1 and what we can obtain year 2 and then split it out and go from there.
Okay.
So when we come back to for a council meeting, I'll come back with more information on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Della has seconded that by show of hands. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for that. Those against? And 3 against. Fly system renewal. We currently have across years 1 and 2 is
Year 1.
recommendation or a motion to change that to split across years 3 and 4.
Did we not say lighting was the highest priority?
Yeah, we're going through.
Sorry.
We're working through this. So fly system renewal split across years 3 and 4. Do I have anyone move that, please? Councillor Della, thank you. Anyone to second that?
That was what the fly system.
The fly system, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Williams. So all those in favour of the fly system being split across years 3 and 4 by show of hands, please, for that. Okay, same again, 5. Those against, and 3 against. That has also carried. We are down to the theatrical lighting improvements. These are highlighted as split across years 1, 2 and 3. And this does include replacing the aging tungsten halogen lighting with the LED as we have discussed. Do I have somebody move this, please? Thank you, Councillor Williams. Anyone to second that? I'm happy to second it. All those in favour?
Discussion, just a question on the, before the motion's put, new control console and data network.
$37,702.
Replacing the lamps and the fix, the bulbs.
Sorry.
What's with the console? And just give me a bit more explanation on the console.
Sorry, give me one moment. I know it's. It says in there, additionally, we will also need a new control platform to operate the theatrical lighting. So that's what the console is.
So it's an upgrade as well. The whole thing's really an upgrade.
Sounds like it.
It's an upgrade.
Would that be because if you're replacing the defunct halogen bulbs with the new bulbs, then the old console won't talk to the new fixtures and fittings? Is that Thank you.
That's an assumption. Yeah.
Sorry, no, that,
Would you buy?
Excuse me, my question was that correct? And management have advised, yes, that is correct. That's what that is for. Did that answer your question?
Then the question I would have is, this is an incremental thing. So, and you're looking at starting at year 1 and 2 and 3.
So the motion was that this would be carried over, so years 1 to 3 as previously discussed. And the motion is on the table that it is progressive as the need arises. So if there's so the discussion is around the motion on the table.
Without putting in words in the mayor's mouth, which is pretty dangerous in the past. Which bits would we do in year 1? And maybe the console could be year 3, is it
so this is
feasible?
Or is that something that would come back once you've researched it to the full council?
Once we approve the budget.
If you don't have.
It would fit within the budget.
Yeah.
We've got the information.
Yeah.
That's the question. We don't, I think we should take it away.
So I guess I'm just kind of, my thinking's been now clouded by the fact that the hearings committee has just signed off on 101 at 30,
Actually,
45, the whole, so I'm now looking at the total bill as opposed to what I might have supported as a single option. So I'll just say that.
so we will.
Without the clarity.
But we will have the opportunity as full council to go through that. I'm conscious of time and that we have been going for 2 hours. There is a motion on the table. Are the members happy to vote on that motion as it stands now, or would you like to adjourn for lunch and then come back to this motion on the table?
We don't need to know the semantics of how the replacement program will go. I think we're talking about the budget and how we would stage that budget.
For 3 years.
so in our, sorry, Dale.
No, you're right.
In the spreadsheet for the LTP, we've got 69,139 for year 1, 57,219 for year 2, and 66,640 for year 3 for the lighting system.
So basically third.
I can get the breakdown of what, I will just need to check and come back.
Madam Chair, just to understand, and I think Mayor Ron's made a very good point, that a new control console and data network has been stated that it won't work with existing, it'll only work with new. So that brings confusion as to how you replace that part while doing bits and pieces of it, because it's not going to work with the existing. So it either works with all new all at once, or it's not going to work. That's what needs to be, I think, which the mayor is trying to understand, and so am I.
So perhaps we adjourn for lunch. That will give staff hopefully some time to maybe be able to answer those very valid questions.
Yeah.
And then we can come back and pick up this motion when we return from lunch. So yeah, 1:30.
Sounds good.
Is 1:30 enough? Yeah. So if we reconvene at 1:30.